So hello and welcome to the Dharma Life podcast. I'm your host, Aloise.life, and every week I bring you an incredible guest who shows you how to live the 5D life in alignment with your soul. And today I have the great pleasure of bringing back a very dear friend, Margarita Alcantara, all the way from New York. She and I actually spoke before Christmas, and the episode just miraculously disappeared. It was very, very strange. But this incredible woman is a shamanista and medicine woman, and she's doing amazing work, and I was really keen to introduce you to her. So welcome to the show, Margarita.
Thank you so much, Aloise. I'm so glad to be here again. I loved our conversation before, and I'm excited for the one we're going to have today.
Oh, well, I so appreciate you coming back. As I said, we were just chatting before you came on, and before we came on live, and I was saying it was very strange what happened to the interview, but you are back. And so would you mind just giving my listeners an overview of you and the work you do in the world? Because I love it.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. So, I have been for the past 12 years in private practice as a healer, a licensed acupuncturist, Reiki master teacher, medicine woman, otherwise known as a shamanic practitioner. I'm initiated in the Mayan Toltec tradition, and I've been doing this work for 12 years in the middle of New York City in the Flatiron District. And in the past, maybe 4 years now, I've expanded into my greater work, my greater calling, which is really activating the divine power codes in other people, and also opening up those portals of power for Gaia, for us, for humanity, and really, activating that so that we can really elevate that frequency, on that personal level and collective level.
Fantastic. And, I know you must be incredibly powerful because you are doing that work in the middle of one of the densest cities probably on the planet. They say, don't they, like to be doing that work in a city really shows me you're very powerful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And actually no one said that to me before. But I appreciate you saying that because you're always dropping these nuggets of wisdom and you're so observant. And yeah, like now that I'm thinking about it, it has been, the pandemic has been in the middle of New York City for a while. It's ebbed and flowed, but we were the epicenter for a little bit. And it was a lot of information and intel that I was downloading during that time. And I was really holding space a lot. And of course, I'm not the only one. There are so many other folks doing the same work. But it's, I guess my soul chose to be here at this time and serve here, and it's been a roller coaster ride for sure.
It's still continuing.
Mm-hmm.
So describe to me a little bit about your 3D to 5D journey, because most of our listeners are kind of on that journey. And I really see us as being way showers and hopefully speeding up and being catalysts for those people listening. So can you describe about how because obviously you went from, did you say private practice, and then more into what you're doing today?
Yeah. And, I still have, I was intending before COVID hit, I was intending to whittle down my days at my private practice anyway, because I really wanted to emphasize my virtual work with the power codes. And then COVID hit, and then it really became a virtual thing for a while because, literally I had to shut down my practice. But how my journey was that, I always felt like there was something special about me, but I, first of all, resisted that because I thought that was a very egotistical thing to be thinking, who am I to be such and such, to be making a big impact in the world, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so, I just kind of played the part. I grew up in a suburban town in Pittsburgh, PA, here in the US. And that served me for a while. And then I just kind of wanted to get out, and I don't want to say party because I was never really a party person, but I did want to go to New York City and experience life and be immersed in city life. And so, yeah. And I mean, I was in the 3D, I was in punk rock. I was like out there. I had a mohawk of different colors.
Wow,
And,
cool.
I was, I grew up as a ballet dancer and,
What a contrast.
yeah, and a jazz dancer. I was also trained in opera, classical opera, and all this other stuff. And I was even a wedding singer for a while, and all this stuff. And it was all fun, it was awesome. And at the same time, I'm like, I don't think this is, I was getting pulled. And so even though I had never even had one acupuncture session at that point, I was just drawn to going to acupuncture school. And, my growing up in my life, my father, he's very 3D, by the books. He's a Western physician. He's a radiologist, now retired, but, everything is logical, scientific, and all that stuff. And so, I got a little bit of that too at first, and I mean, I think maybe that's my interest in the human body and all that. But when I told him I wanted to go to acupuncture school, he threw up his hands and he said, Christ, and he was just so upset. And, that was my first taste of like, wow, and this is before, I went out and went into punk rock and all this other stuff, I think that might've been around the same time, but
acupuncture is quite accepted. Do you know what I mean? It's like quite a sort of well-known modality. It's not like it's, like Akashic Record Reading or what you do. What does he think about what you do now?
I know. Well, he honestly doesn't care as long as I'm making money. I mean, that's like what it comes down to, I mean, they're my parents. So, and that's really the biggest concern because, to him, it was a little far-fetched to be an acupuncturist. And at the time I kind of felt it was too, but I was like, I'm just drawn to this, and I'm going to do it. And so then I started. And at the same time, I also became a Reiki master teacher. And of course, it was really to heal myself and to be more emotionally balanced. And that's how it always starts out for healers and light workers. And so that's how it started out for me. I mean, I really wasn't, I was pushing down and suppressing my abilities, my intuitive abilities, to the point that I had shut down my heart. I had shut down my third eye. I said, this is giving me problems. It's making me stick out. And I'm already sticking out too much in a very suburban town, I don't want to stick out anymore. And so I shut it all down and I pretty much initiated my shamanic awakening at that point because I had shut down my powers, which then made me vulnerable to those negative forces, and so I was not doing well. I was unhappy. I was depressed, suicidal. I was on cocktails of psychiatric drugs. I was hospitalized. And I mean, I really was a buffet for the darkness. And it's almost a miracle that I'm still here. And now, looking hindsight, I'm realizing that, wow, they almost got me, I mean, I have a really powerful job to do. And at the time I didn't know it and they almost got me. I almost took care of things and almost wasn't here anymore, because I just believed that my abilities were a hindrance and a pain in the butt. Wow. And so, it was only when, and this is really interesting, but I literally ran out of money to buy my meds. And so I wouldn't suggest this, but I had to go cold turkey off all of my meds because I simply couldn't afford it. And although physically I was okay, because, I was pretty young then. So I bounced back pretty quickly. But once that happened, I also started meditating for the first time in my life. And really, at that moment, I think that was the, oh, damn moment for, Team Dark, because they're just like, oh, she's not coming back. She's not coming back to us,
She's plugged in.
And what's that?
She plugged in.
Yeah, I plugged in. Absolutely. And so after that, literally, it was no turning back. I never, it was, and after that, I'm like, then I started realizing all that programming that I had experienced. And at first I was very angry, like really, I was livid. And so like, it was just like this turning point for me of, I am never going back to that. And I am completely committed to being of light and taking a stand for the light completely. Like every single cell and bone in my body is like completely on board. And so that's when I started going really into business as a healer. And at first I struggled, because I was believing all these 3D stories about light workers. We don't deserve to be making money and all this other stuff.
Spiritual can't make money. Absolutely.
Absolutely. All the stuff. And I believed all of it. And so I was broke for a while. And then I shifted all of that. And then I became a 6-figure healer. And now.
How did you do that? Because I know people listening are like, so like myself included, I've gone through that. I was making good money in my corporate and I moved over and I made absolutely jack shit. But I would be interested. I know how I did it, but I'd love to hear how you did it. And because obviously a lot of people that are listening to this are going through this transition now. And there is that fear of, can I leave my secure, regular pay packet and go and do something? Like, can I live? Can I survive?
Yeah. And honestly, I was stuck there for a while myself because I had a day job. Same. I was admin for a doctor. And, because again, I was staying in the doctor safety zone, and I wasn't really doing my own thing. I mean, I maybe rented like a few hours here and there and saw maybe a patient here and there, but I wasn't really stepping forward. And the true reason, if I'm going to be honest with myself, is because I didn't trust that I could make enough money as a healer. So I stayed at my day job. At least I got a steady paycheck. I was getting insurance, blah, blah, blah. And then at that point, there came a time where I was with somebody who I'm no longer with. But at that time, it was devastating and we had broken up. And at that point, I'm just like, what am I doing with myself? What am I doing? I hate this job. I hate this job. It's sucking the soul out of my life and my body. What am I doing here? And I just was so angry at myself. And I said, I'm done. I'm out of here. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. And so then that's when I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to be a healer. I don't know what's going to happen. And at first, yes, I sucked, I was an awesome healer, but I sucked at finances and
it's a lot to do.
Marketing. Yeah, it's a lot. They don't teach you that in acupuncture school. Yeah. And so I think what changed for me was that I was tired of attracting people who were not aligned into my practice. And because it was really, I just want to help everybody, because that's the light worker in me. I was just like, I would just want to help everyone. So I'll help everyone. My doors will be open. And so literally everyone came in. So like the people who wanted to do the work, the people who did not want to do the work, the people who were highly resistant, the people who were a pain in the ass, the people who were awesome to work with, all of those different kinds of people came in. And it was only when I said, you know what? I deserve to work with people I enjoy working with. And so I started really honing in on who I wanted to serve in terms of my patients. I started charging what I'm worth instead of like, I think it was $72 for an initial visit or something. And then I charged what I was worth. And I was just, and I allowed myself to fire patients, so for instance, if they were a pain in the ass, I would refer them out, and so it was really about honoring my worth and my value and my time and saying, I am worthy of making a lot of money, being abundant, and at first it was just like, I just want to pay my bills,
Yeah, of course. But would you say it was kind of incremental? Like, again, for sort of people listening, would you describe it as kind of an incremental shift? You're kind of continually moving up, or was it more of a jump?
Yeah. And thank you for that question, because I think you know the answer to this one, right? It's not overnight. It's like this experience of, oh, that didn't work out, or, yes, oh, I didn't like that. And then what do I want instead? Right. And so the whole thing that I'm feeling with both of us is that we've learned the long and hard and painful way. And now we want to help people to get the shortcut so that they don't have to be suffering, and hanging out in the mire as long as we did. I mean, I know I did for sure. And so it really is about shifting your mindset. And it really is, if someone had told me that it was as easy as shifting my mindset and making a decision, I would have been like, thank you, right? Because I didn't realize that at the time. I was making a decision based on fear, based on what I didn't want. And it was only when I made a decision about how I really wanted to be experiencing my life, the kind of money I wanted to be making, the kind of people I wanted to be working with, that is only the time when things started really shifting. And I started working with the people that I loved working with. I started making more money, and I opened more days at my practice. And then that too became a gradual thing. So I was seeing patients 4 days out of the week and making six figures. But then there came a time where I realized that there's only so many people I can see a week, one-on-one. Yeah. And then I was already starting to think, what am I going to do? Because I'm capped now, so.
Capped and busy.
Yeah. Capped and busy and taking too much time. And, like from my father, I got this really work hard, ethic,
Same.
And
yeah.
I'm good with that. But I was starting to get a little burned out, and so I'm like, I don't know if this is aligned, like I'm good at working hard, but I don't know if this feels aligned. And then at that time, I started really starting to open up, and then I awakened into my starseed awareness, probably because I had been with my twin flame at that time. And, as twin flames do, you kind of activate each other. And so that's what happened with me. I got activated probably as a result of that. And once I remembered my starseed awareness and my starseed lineage, I also remembered that I have been on this planet Earth for eons, since prehistoric times, and helping Gaia since all the continents were one. And so that's when I went into my bigger work of activating the divine power codes, because I just simply started remembering a lot of my abilities and remembering my relationship with Gaia. And now I talk with her every day. And so yeah, that's really how it was. It was just, the faster you trust yourself and make a decision about what you want to be creating from that conscious level, the faster you will experience that life.
Yeah, and I love what you said it, because it kind of, you learn, don't you, on the journey of like, oh, that didn't work, and actually I'm burning myself out here. And so it's like, as long as you're still listening and you're in that kind of conscious place, you can just keep tweaking and keep tweaking and keep tweaking and keep refining. And I loved also what you said about, who do I really want to work with? Because I think when you start out on this 3D to 5D journey, you're just grateful to have customers. and then of course you go through this transition, and then you get to the stage where you're booked, and you're booked solid, and you're tired. And it's like, okay, I need to keep refining and keep tweaking. And then that scary bit when you put your prices up and you think no one's going to come, and they do.
Yeah.
You're like, wow.
Absolutely. And then when you get, more confident, if you've been doing this for a while, you raise your prices every year. Yeah.
And I think I'd love to have that conversation, because I don't believe in being spiritual and poor. Like I believe the more money we have as spiritual humans, the more good we can do. And that's kind of the mantra that I had. But my journey was, I had so many lifetimes as a spiritual teacher that I'd made contract after contract after contract saying I wouldn't charge. So my Akashic Records work was the kind of undoing of all of that, because when I could get in my own record, I could then undo all these contracts and money curses and stuff that I had. So that's what I now do for other people.
I love that.
Took me blooming years to find it out.
I know, but I'm glad you did. And, and I'm also glad I did, because I think I also had some poverty, like I was promising a life of poverty kind of thing at one point. And I'm just like, F that, I'm not here to be poor. How am I supposed to make impact and really make a difference if I'm worrying about how I'm going to eat? That's just not a way to live.
It's old paradigm. It's really
totally old paradigm. Completely old paradigm. And what's interesting is that even though it's completely old paradigm, I still get a lot of flack from the spiritual community when I talk about money.
Mm-hmm.
They think I'm being greedy. They think I'm, because they still link it to the manipulation and, doing over on people and things like that. And it's like, actually, no, that's when I start going to, this is what I'm talking about. This is why light workers don't make money.
Well, that's why we've been repressed. If you imagine, spiritual people and light workers have been in this kind of just about survival mode, and it's been pushed underground. Now it's about us taking the forefront and leading the charge, and
absolutely
bringing humanity with us, going over the top, taking as many people as we possibly can into this fifth dimension, and creating this abundant new earth. So yeah, I'm with you. I get really frustrated with it because it's like, I think sometimes people expect you to do things for free, and it's like, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work for anybody at all.
In fact, I think like that at first I actually agreed with them when I was in private practice for the first time. I was like, oh, because people actually said that to me. Why are you so expensive? And I wasn't. I was actually on the cheaper side. Now that I look back on it at that time, I was actually undercharging and they were complaining. And you will always have those people, and so, but the thing is that some people also said, why are you charging for something that comes naturally for you? And I was like, oh, why am I charging something? Right. And at first that's why I felt so guilty. But then I thought, wait a minute. I actually went to acupuncture school for 7 years. I actually paid for my certification as a Reiki master teacher. I actually, paid for my apprenticeship as a medicine woman. I invested on so many levels of myself to improve myself and to gather the level of wisdom that I possess, and went through a shamanic awakening that no one else should probably experience, right? I've amassed a certain level of wisdom and understanding and frequency that actually is priceless. And so when I realized that, and I thought, would they ask a doctor this question? Like, why don't you just give your stuff for free? It's like, no, I invested in myself, and so, that of course just reveals their own money limits and blocks, but there's a huge one for the spiritual community. And it is only when we acknowledge our worth and our time and our money and the fact that we've invested in ourselves and we've got a lot of wisdom that we possess. As light workers, we possess a lot of wisdom. And also money is just a tool. It's not evil. It depends on the person who's using the money. And the money doesn't make you evil. The money it just makes you more of what you already are. If you're this amazing person who's doing massive things in the world, guess what? You're going to be a wonderful, amazing person who's doing massive things in the world with a lot of money, and can you imagine the impact, right? And so for me, I own that abundance because I made that happen. That didn't just fall in my lap because I was a good person. I made that happen, and I made a decision and various decisions in order to embrace that abundance. And what I get to do now is that I get to elevate the experience for my clients. I get to invest in myself so that I can be of higher service to the world and do whatever it takes so that, I can be at, a greater level of service to, who I'm serving. And also I get to enjoy my life. I get to also access my freedom.
Everybody needs balance, and like what you're talking about there is frequency and energy, so you're serving at a certain level and then you'll attract people who are at that energy and that frequency. So, yes, I think for our listeners, yes, there is a journey that we all go on, but actually it's part of the parcel. It's kind of like part of our path is to find our self-worth and find our confidence and find our value. And then we resonate at that level and then we attract clients at that level. So do you now work is your work more one-to-one higher paying clients now, or how do you operate?
Yeah. So now, well, I have one day still at my private practice because I want to just kind of keep that there still. But my greater work is the power activation stuff. And before COVID hit, I was actually doing a lot more global activations. And so I'd be traveling around the world. First, we went to Mount Shasta in California, and then we went to Machu Picchu in Peru. And it was amazing because due to the fact of me taking ownership of my abundance, I was able to put my clients and the participants of these activations in like 5-star hotels, in Peru, and I mean, it was just such an amazing experience. And now, because of COVID, I'm not really doing that at the moment. But I am doing more like one-on-one activation work and also some group stuff as well. And so I do have a mentorship program for women to build their conscious power.
Wow.
And it's filled with activations and really developing that spiritual, conscious, intentional power that we all possess, and anchoring that into Gaia so that we can make impact as starseeds and light workers and empaths and, way showers.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? We've kind of had to, I feel like we've had to sort of slog it out so we can speed up other people's journeys, So your work is similar to mine. Like, I think I do group work and I have a kind of lower cost option than I have a higher cost option. So depending on where people are at in their journeys, that they can join me. But the whole point is that we can help them activate their abilities quicker than the kind of years that we had to go through when it was like walking through mud at points.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt like that. It really felt like that. And, but you know what? That's what makes us so potent too, because we just really went through the gauntlet and we kept deciding yes. We kept saying yes over and over. Yes, I will do it. Yes, I will do it. And we kept saying that. And that's why we're so strong.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's the empathy now, like because of all of the stuff that I went through, I have this deep empathy for anyone and everyone I work with, because it's like I've been where they are and experienced. And I know that the various different bits really suck. But it enables us to know exactly then how to work with that individual because we know where they're at. So yeah, exciting time. So I'd love to know a little bit more about this grid work that you do and the work that you do with Gaia, because that sounds absolutely, fascinating.
Yeah. Well, when I awakened as a starseed, I guess this was maybe 5 years now ago. One of my memories was that I was here. Again, not human, I'm a starseed now, but back then I was not even human. And I was here with my twin flame as well. We were here embodied in non-human form. And my job, and my name was actually Lady Light Starbringer, and my job was to actually, I was a conduit between the Star Nation, otherwise known as the Galactic Federation of Light, and Gaia. And my job was, whenever Gaia was in need of help, I would go up to the highest points on the planet, and I would just draw down the Star Nation and ask them for help to help, Gaia. And so I don't think that's a coincidence that I remembered, at that time, because that was, something that I was getting drawn to do again. And so that's why I started, I reopened my connection with Gaia, my dialogue with her. And that's when she said, I need you to go to these places, these sacred sites. She actually gave it to me in order. And she told me what she wanted me to do at these places.
Wow. So you were kind of going to these like Machu Picchu and sacred sites and activating the energy there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there was like a specific job, it seemed like, for each place. Like for Mount Shasta, she just wanted me to start opening ceremony for all of this. And there was like this new code of creation and seeding, this tabula rasa code for clearing out those old frequencies of the old codes and things like that. And then Machu Picchu, aside from, like kind of bring up that golden city that was kind of underneath on that other astral level, and like bringing it up and rising it up into like the earthly plane. It was really to activate the ancient ones, wake them up. And, because I do a lot of work also with that indigenous because I also have that indigenous blood within me too. So I've got this, really awakening that wisdom of the indigenous cultures on planet Earth, and also working with the different elementals on the levels of Earth. And one of the things that I ended up doing there too is I learned that Machu Picchu was being used as a gateway for cosmic beings that, how would I put it? Like they weren't interested in helping humanity. I'll just put it that way. And so I literally kind of shut off that gateway for those who were not in service to the light. And, it was an interesting outcome because there was some backlash that I experienced as a result, which is fine. But so, I mean, things like that where I'm really opening up these portals of power for Gaia and really, awakening that sacred power, reawakening it in
Now,
those
can you
places.
explain what earth codes are? Like, why are her earth codes shut down? Like, are these kind of from ancient times where the feminine's been repressed? Or can you explain that a little bit more for me?
Yeah. So what I got from Gaia, because, I was also curious because I'm like, well, can't you do this? You're like this, major entity, and what I got back was her vibration was shifted as a result of all the cosmic wars that she experienced, and also because of us, because of humanity, how we have not really been great stewards for her. And so it's just really almost kind of like, if you can imagine, kind of polluting, her body's been so polluted and shifted and encoded with darkness and all this other stuff too, and all these cosmic wars just to like have ownership of the life that is on this planet. I mean, that's really what the cosmic war has been about, all these wars for this planet on a galactic level. And it lowered her vibration to the point that she wasn't able to feel sustained. And so she was basically in this rebuilding mode. And I mean, she's much stronger now because, of this planetary awakening, and the Schumann resonance is like record high, like a lot of the times now. So she's doing much better. But there are a lot of people like myself who, I mean, because I'm also a Syrian high priestess. And so I've got this kind of star kind of that I have. So what I actually did at one point was that I was at a kind of a Star Nation gathering, and all these different representatives, kind of like if you've watched Star Wars, it wasn't too far-fetched. And all these like different star beings were collecting and having a convention of some sort and discussion. And at one point, I was there at a time, my very first and only time I had been there in that kind of atmosphere, where they were just like, they were considering, Gaia not being really part of, she was kind of kicked out of the Galactic Federation in a way, because her vibration was just so low. And so it was just actually heartbreaking for me to witness what occurred was, like, cause I was with her, and she, they were saying, your vibration, kind of like your vibration is too low. You don't belong with us, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And she was like, but I helped you, and I helped you, my brother, and I helped you, my sister. And she was speaking to all the other planets. And she was like, I helped you, when you needed help. And I'm trying to remember now, because this happened a couple of years ago when I was at that meeting. And I got so angry, and, I'm just like, do you not understand what she experienced? And so I literally stepped up and I said, excuse me, I'd like to speak on, for her behalf, because you're not listening to her, and they looked at me like this measly human, and because at that time I was in that form. And then, so I was like, oh, I got it. So I shifted myself into my Syrian form, and then they took me seriously and they listened. And I said, this is not her fault. This is not Gaia's fault. She has been enduring many, many cosmic wars. She has endured the degradation of her body and her system and her existence because of us, humanity. I will take responsibility for that, and so it's just, so they considered it. And then there was also, other additional things that happened during there that transpired. I won't get into all of that, but in the end, there was this, okay, we'll hear you out, we'll give her a chance. And I think that as a result of that and many other things that she's experienced, she has elevated into a state where she's not only rebuilding, but she is reforming and she is ascending and she is getting stronger. And so are we.
Fantastic. Yeah. What an incredible story and what incredible work to be doing at the moment on the planet. And I'm so with you. I can feel the shift, since the solstice. I can feel the energy building. I can just sense everything crumbling, like the old paradigm and the old structures. So yeah, it's an exciting time to be here. But I would love to know how people can find you, Margarita. Like, obviously, if our listeners want to come and connect with you, book sessions with you, how can they find you?
So you can find me. I'm on Instagram a lot. Also Facebook, but mostly on Instagram. You can also find me at alcantaracupuncture.com, which is my website. And you can find out more information and contact me through there as well. But you can always DM me on Instagram or Facebook.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. You should be incredibly proud of your journey. And I know that you're helping so many people to bridge the gap that they're kind of going through at the moment. But I want to say thank you. I know this is our second time, but the conversation did not disappoint. So really beautiful to have you with us.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad we were able to revisit our conversations.
And please go and check out Margarita's work and share this podcast and let us know what you got from it. And if you've got any questions about your 3D to 5D journey, then by all means, I will tag both of us. So we will be there if you've got any questions. But we'll see you next week with another incredible episode of the Dharma Life podcast.
Thank you so much for listening to the Dharma Life podcast. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. Please come over and say hello on my Instagram, our Facebook group, and also please let me know what you thought. So if you are listening, please take a screenshot of the podcast that you are listening to. Tag me on Instagram and I will reshare your post, and please let me know what it is that you got out of today's episode. Remember, when we do our Dharma, we are happier, healthier, we live longer, and we have a deep sense of unshakable inner peace.